I remembered this weird YouTube channel. I recently saw a video about a site called seemerot.com. Supposedly on the site you would see a real corpse rotting in the grave in real time. It was all fake and might have been some ploy to make money through porn ads, but the video did remind me of something. Rotted Riley. Rotted Riley was a YouTube channel from around 2014 that basically did the same thing seemerot.com was supposed to do. Show you a corpse rotting in real time. I forgot where I heard about it, possibly a friend. All I know was that the premise sounded cool to an edgy teen, which I was at the time. The channel had a ton of videos that were hours long, all showing a woman in a coffin. In the earliest upload, you could see the woman pretty clearly. She was in her 20s, blonde hair, wearing a necklace with an R on it, and had her eyes closed. Just by scrolling through the thumbnails, you could see her decomposing over the course of many videos. I followed the channel for a few weeks. Sometimes I'd hop on a live stream. There'd usually be 1 or 2 people in the chat. I think the most I saw was 5. The chat usually had a couple messages from people, but what I remembered was the pinned message made by the channel that appeared in every stream.
Don't wake up Riley. She's sleeping.
Creepy, sure, but what do you expect from a channel live streaming a decomposing corpse? I just figured it was part of the vibe. I usually had the live stream on in the background while I was doing my edgy teen artwork. The channel just sort of inspired the morbid shit that I drew as a teen. Plus, weirdly enough, it felt like I had company while I was drawing. Sure, that company was a decomposing corpse, but it's not like I was the kind of person with better options at the time. I'd sometimes take a look at the stream, completely unfazed by the rotting, bug-eaten corpse. One day, while I was drawing with the stream in the background, I heard a thump from the video. That was weird since the live stream didn't have any sound. What would you hear from a corpse? I checked the video. Riley was still in the same position she'd been in this entire time. She was still lying down with her eyes closed. Her skin was still gray and being chewed through by bugs. The normal shit for Riley. I was about to shrug it off when something changed. Her eyes opened. She started turning her head side to side, the skin on her neck ripping like paper. She thrashed about and let out the most harrowing scream I'd ever heard. The chat was exploding with people losing their minds. The comment I remember most, though, was from the Rotted Riley channel.
Someone woke her up.
I like creepy stuff, but this entire thing freaked me the hell out. I exited the live stream and tried watching something else to take my mind off of whatever the hell I just saw. The next day I worked up the nerve to try going to the channel again, only to see that it had been taken down. There wasn't a trace of this channel left on YouTube. Over time I ended up forgetting about the channel. I think part of it was just me trying to repress what I saw. But then I saw that video on seemerot.com and this entire thing exploded back into my mind. After remembering all of this, I decided to try and look back into it. I couldn't find any archives of the video or the images from the stream. I found vague mentions here and there, but nothing concrete. Most everyone figured this was a hoax or a creepypasta. I was about to dismiss this as some weird false memory or a Mandela effect thing when I came across something. A missing person report. The person was a woman who disappeared around 2014. She was in her mid-20s, had blonde hair, and wore a necklace with an R on it. Her name was Riley Ashcroft. She's still missing to this day. No one enters, no one leaves. It's our motto. If you're unlucky enough to be a resident of the small town of Raybrook. Many have tried, driven at the highest speeds towards the main road, sprinted towards the exit sign in the strongest winds, but none have been successful. The moment they reach the invisible force field that surrounds the town, they freeze. They don't die, don't disappear, just stop. They are suspended in motion, lined around the edges of the town where the road doesn't quite reach. 20 years ago, the first person tried to escape, tried to get away from this living hell of a town. The moment that she reached the very edge of the town, she stopped, paused in time, widened eyes, and an expression of horror on her face, almost like she knew this would happen to her in the last second. As the years passed, countless others have tried, and all have failed. Each one stood frozen around the town's border, like a freak show of horrifying statues. Now almost every resident of this town is frozen, stopped in shock at the very outskirts of the town. There are very few of us left, those who have been smart enough, been brave enough not to try and escape. The last person to try was my brother. He thought he was different, spent hours poring over scientific textbooks, trying to understand the inevitability of our situation. He made a theory, followed it through to the nearest point, thinking that he'd be the first to succeed. Now he stands, paused in terror at the very edge of the road that leads out of Raybrook, just like every other idiot before him who thought they could do the same. He failed. They all failed. They're all frozen at the town's border with no indication of ever returning to normal. The more optimistic residents of the town like to believe that they will one day wake up, but I have always considered myself a realist. I know that they won't. I know that once they become frozen, they will never unfreeze, just like that unfortunate man 20 years ago, just like my brother, mere days ago. There are only about 15 of us remaining. People talk about leaving all the time in hushed whispers, staying out of each other's way. They would rather be frozen in time than exist in this nightmare. Perhaps being frozen has its benefits. It's certainly a lot better than being alone, staying out of the way of 14 people who are all individual ticking time bombs about to go off. I've heard people talking about it, how they want to go. They don't want to live this way anymore, or just morbid curiosity leads them to wonder what is beyond the dangerous invisible force field. I've been feeling a certain pull recently, almost like a magnetic feeling, to go and attempt to leave. I know that it's just a feeling, and I won't really go, no matter how much my mind feels like it's being taken over by a darker force. Before my best friend tried to leave, I saw something dark behind her eyes. We were running to the border hand in hand, just kids who were determined to defy the odds together. Moments before we reached the edge, she looked into my eyes and I could see that hers were almost black, filled with some sort of terrifying darkness. I pulled away before it was too late and watched my friend become suspended in time. I visit her from time to time. She isn't living, but she's still there with those dark eyes, widened in a terrifying image. I've looked into the eyes of the others too, and I see the same expression, those same exact eyes, so dark that they're almost black. That's what makes me believe that there's something bigger behind this, a dark, all-consuming force. That would explain why I'm beginning to lose control. I zone out for large portions of the day, forget where I am or who I am. I'll close my eyes while standing in my own driveway and find myself inches away from the border, always waking up before it's too late. When I sleep at night, my dreams always repeat the same scenario over and over again. Me walking towards the border, but before I reach it, I manage to wake myself up every time. All of my spare thoughts are consumed by the border. I think about it. I mention it in the rare conversations that I have. I've even taken to reading my brother's many notebooks and research pages on it. Some might say that I'm obsessed, but there's a part of me that can't help it. I'll be walking along in the early morning and all of a sudden I'll end up at the border, my legs taking me towards the edge of the town before my mind can realize what's going on. I can't control it either. The thoughts are getting harder to suppress. The urges, simply to run straight to the border, are getting harder to block out of my mind. I'm standing in front of the border now, inches away from being frozen for all of eternity. I don't want to, but I can't turn back. I feel the darkness. I feel it. I wonder if this is how my brother felt before he froze. If I reach out, I'd be touching the border. I'm centimeters away from being frozen, yet I feel calm. Not afraid, not upset, not even frustrated by my predicament. Perhaps a far-off part of my brain, one that's still under my control, is screaming, but I can't hear it. The border is consuming me. The darkness from the edge of town is pulling me in, and there's nothing I can do to stop it. I have to give in to the border. It's just like I said at the start of all this. They all failed. We all failed. I failed. Now, I have to let the border take me.